Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers.
Right? No judging. No judging.
The millennials are really changing that.
Is charm.
No. All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby, tell them.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Av Utukuri here. Av, thank you very much for joining me. How are you today?
Oh, doing really well. Really great.
Really great. Awesome. Well, Av, thanks again for joining me. For those of you who don't know, Av is he's chairman and CEO and creator of next gen hardware and software technologies to make remote meetings memorable. You are the CEO of Vizetto, one of the companies that is raising capital on the Backers platform with the Reactive Suite product, as well for, right, I guess, current CEO of Banto as well, right? So there you go. So why don't we dive in? Let's go back. I mentioned it just before we jumped on. It's sort of like the first time we talked, we met there down the beaches, a couple different things. Why don't you tell a little bit of your backstory into how you got into this space, into this field, a little bit about maybe your your history of work and where you are today. I don't know, where do we start? What do we start from the beginning in 1970, whatever? Av was born. No. What? How far back do we go? Yeah. Is it 70s even? Yeah, 70s, right?
74, exactly.
74. There you go. 78. So I knew it wasn't too far off. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Yeah. My name is Av Utukuri, in Toronto, Ontario. So pretty well here my whole life. Serial entrepreneur, graduated from a program called Engineering Science at U of T. Really theoretical engineering program, and basically always been a serial entrepreneur. I have started multiple companies. I love technology. I love playing around with how tech can improve lives, how it can solve problems. I love complicated tech. So yeah, just been involved in tech my whole life. So started, actually had a company called Nitric where we helped inventors and entrepreneurs come up with new ideas and take them to market. So, I really got to learn the hard way of how to commercialize product and product-led growth strategy and taking products all the way from paper napkin through to commercial realization with mass volume manufacturing in Asia. So it's been quite a journey.
Interesting. And are you still running Nitric, or?
No, Nitric became my personal vehicle. So it's my investment arm. I also do a lot of angel investing. So I invested in a couple of companies last year, and I try to get involved where the tech makes sense. And I love the founder, and I understand the problem that they're solving, and I know I can help. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. So tell us a little bit about Banto. So, and then how that evolved into Vizetto and sort of your evolution, I guess, from sort of, I think, sort of hardware, obviously, touch screen, things of that nature, into now Vizetto, which, as you mentioned, the Reactive Suite, which is, and I might be bastardizing this, but is sort of an add-on to a Zoom and a Teams and a Google Meets type of tool that enhances the ability for somebody to present and get their message across. And I think one of your things you talk about is the presenter is really the nuts and bolts of a presentation, not so much the content. You really want to get what the presenter's feeling and saying and get their kind of take on things. Tell us a little bit about that evolution.
Yeah. Well, should I start off with Banto then?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Around 10 years ago, me and my co-founder, John, we had this idea that we can invent a new type of touchscreen technology. It's completely different and unique. And at that point in time, the iPhone and iPad just came out. And there's a lot of need for very large touchscreen interfaces. Like think John King, CNN. Like we did that monitor for them. Basically, the intention was to try and figure out how to scale touchscreens. And scaling touchscreens is a complex problem, like signal, noise, multi-touch, processing, performance. And we invented Shadow Sense, which is basically gone everywhere. We raised around $14 million venture capital. And the really cool thing is about Shadow Sense is Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Airbus, they actually have it inside aircraft. So pilots are actually flying with our touchscreen as a primary avionic surface. So very reliable, high-end. We designed all these touchscreens for writing, for you to be able to pick up a pen on a monitor and write and sketch, and we had all these ideas. But there's no content out there. Everywhere I'd go, people would open up Microsoft Paint and draw hello or draw a smiley face with a circle and dots. And so we're like, okay, we got to come up with a content side as well. So we started the demo. The idea being, let's actually demonstrate amazing content on touchscreens and in the end, sell solutions and sell hardware and do all of the above. So that's how it got started.
Interesting. You mentioned John King, so you're talking about CNN when they did those political where they would like pull up, the voters in X whatever constituency or whatever you want to call it. And sort of it was very interactive. When was that? When did they start using that? I feel like that was
they did it in the 2016 and the 2020 election. So we had our stuff.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about Vizetto. So Vizetto, you said, is you had the touchscreen technology. You wanted to show use cases, if you will, of real world content creation using the touchscreen technology. How did that evolve into Vizetto? Obviously, with virtual meetings. Was this pre-COVID, post-COVID? Like, I mean, obviously Vizetto started pre-COVID, but how have you seen that market, and where do you see the trends in that market going, I guess?
Well, originally, no, we did not imagine meetings. I mean, before COVID, I rarely got on Zoom calls. The idea was really for the magic word collaboration. Like, everybody talks about collaboration, and for us, collaborating was like, oh, look, engineers are going to design houses together, and doctors are going to go just work on plan out surgeries together, and they're going to write. And we got in, COVID happened, lockdown happened, and basically there's a whole bunch of like, okay, well, engineers don't design like that. Cars don't get manufactured like that. We really need, CEO after CEO would see my pitch and they'd be like, this is awesome as to how you're presenting. Can you help me present? Can you help me, help my salespeople connect and be more effective on a Zoom call? And I was like, well, we've heard this now a few times, so let's go down that path. So that's what happened. So over the course of the last, I'd say a few 18 months or so, we transitioned from a collaborative team meeting to engaging remote presentations. So it was a very, very interesting journey for us. And we learned a lot.
There you go. So do you think, where do you see the remote space going sort of in the next 3 to 5 years? Obviously, people are starting to kind of go back to work and get back to work, and the remote presentation. Do you see this kind of evolving into the office place, or how do you see Vizetto and Reactive kind of evolving there?
If you think about it, see, leaders want people to come back in. Why? It's not about productivity, it's about engagement now. So the reason I want people to come back is to feel connected with each other, to build that culture, build that team. We could all turn our cameras up. We could all just go on calls 8 hours a day and the proverbial don't wear pants. And, there's a lot of research to show if you don't show up in the right way, people won't give you credit, which means that you can do all the work that you want, but you want to be completely remote with your camera shut off and just present a PowerPoint or do this or do that. Guess what? People won't remember you. They won't remember or associate your work with you. You won't get the credit. You won't get the job. You won't get the raise. You won't get the sale. You won't get the client. And the list goes on and on. Because Justin, like, if you're a consultant selling a $50,000 proposal 5 years ago and you wanted to close the deal, what would you have done?
Yeah, you'd go meet them in person. Call them up, go meet them in person, right?
Thank you.
You'd make the trip to their office or wherever they were, right?
When you go to their office, how do you show up?
Yeah, I mean, you'd show up in suit and tie, and you'd have your slide presentation ready, maybe your laptop if you were going to present on their equipment, or you have a paper. Or a Tim Hortons? Yeah, maybe you meet in a neutral location, or you have a paper version of a presentation, right?
Yeah, your working lunch. Let me order lunch in for your team. Let me do that, right?
Yeah.
These days, what do people do? They literally are in their basements, like technically not wearing pants, as the joke goes, and they expect to go ahead and close the same deal.
Should we both just stand up just to show everyone that we're actually wearing
Yeah,
pants?
exactly. Right? Like, I'm actually in my office.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
allowed.
I'm in a
But-
quasi office, but hey, you know
Yeah.
what? It's funny enough. There was that video. My wife just sent me a link. It's 10 years since that guy was. I think he was being interviewed on CNN or one of those. Maybe 8 years ago. It was an anniversary just a week or two ago, where like
Yeah.
his daughter or someone walks in and he like can't get up because the saying is he probably didn't have pants on, but right. It was sort of, that was like way pre-COVID, but
Right.
okay, so you think obviously that in-person feel, can that be replicated online or no?
So that's the thing. If you can, that's where the magic is. If I can make people feel that they're actually meeting face to face and they connect, there's a lot of psychology behind this. It dramatically changes the way that we interact, engage, learn, and suddenly we feel like we're doing business with real people. Like, I'll actually associate the work with you. So that's where employees and staff and teams want that flexibility, but they're not understanding that the lack of engagement is causing some pretty big disconnects. So yeah, remote work is here to be forever. People are all over the place. We ourselves in our small company are hiring people in India and Eastern Europe and all over the place, right? But that engagement is what's critical.
And we're here on a remote. I'm in Vancouver, you're in Toronto, right? So exactly. So, and I mean, we work together, and aside from the one time we did meet in person, I mean, well, we've met a couple times in person now, I think, once at your office as well, once over beers and once at the office. But so let's shift gears a little bit. So we talked, I remember the one time we talked, the very first time we talked was sort of, you had this concept, sort of blue ocean type concept where you're looking at, and I think your term was boil the ocean, right? Where do you see the evolution of interactive multimedia or communications going? What are you hoping to see, and what's your vision maybe for Vizetto and Reactive over the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Well, first of all, there's hundreds of different type of meetings, different type of work experiences, right? Every meeting is not just a PowerPoint. There's lectures, education, there's facilitations, there's all sorts of things like that. And we want to create the tech stack that can cater to any one of those type of meetings. And that's basically the long-term goal.
Right. And so where do you see kind of like you see the evolution of, and this is one thing we talked about early on too, the evolution, or I think is the evolution of interpersonal communication through very interactive mediums, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see that go? Maybe describe that a little bit.
Well, I mean, on one side, you see companies like Meta coming in going, oh, you're all going to be wearing little goofy vacuum cleaners on our head, and you're going to look like a pink elephant, and I'll be a blue giraffe, and we'll meet in the metaverse. Like, to be honest, I don't believe that. I think people need that human connection. I think that we need that interaction with each other. So for me, it's going to be these experiences, what I call these experiences. Right?
You're kind of cutting out there. What do you call it? Sorry?
These experiences. What we're looking for is that engaging experience. And Reactive is part of that solution. I don't know what else is going to go ahead and happen. I mean, we don't focus on like virtual events. We don't focus on trade shows. We don't focus on, large gatherings, auditoriums. There's lots of companies doing cool things. We focus on very specific remote presentations where you're presenting to a small or medium-sized group and you're going through an agenda, lectures. Then we have things like document signing or video signing rooms. And we have all sorts of ideas that lead to interesting opportunities for us to go ahead and scale long term. But yeah, our roadmap is quite full of things like that, where we want to transform any type of remote meeting.
Interesting. So let's sort of shift there. I'd love to actually discuss this. Maybe we can discuss it on one of these calls too, but sort of the interactiveness for the backers platform, where maybe you can have investors being able to interact with the company or the issuer or the entrepreneur and have a more meaningful conversation there. That's maybe something we should probably discuss, but I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the pitch is one of the most important meetings. Founders in small companies are pitching people for money all the time, And every simple time, it's a boring slide deck with all sorts of numbers, and everybody has the TAM, Sam, and Sam, and how they're 100 billion, and this is where their valuation is in 5. You know what? At the end of the day, guess what? People bet on the jockey, right? They're not betting on the deck. They're not betting on the business model. I mean, all of those are important. Don't get me wrong, but it's the founder is not able to communicate and clearly articulate the vision, all bets are off. So to me, delivering a pitch, recording a pitch, your video messages, how what you stream onto social media to demonstrate your product, your demo, all sorts of things are super critical to be able to do in things like reactive.
Interesting. So let's shift gears a little bit. So obviously you're raising capital on backers and obviously outside, and you've raised capital in the past. What would you say? And reactive is definitely a tool that entrepreneurs should use and can use to enhance their ability to pitch. What would you say are some of the keys to pitching? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but to pitching your venture, pitching your idea, raising capital. What are some of the hurdles maybe that you've been able to overcome in order to raise capital and be successful at raising capital?
Yeah, I mean, having a very clear product strategy, having patents. We've always had a great tech stack, going after large enough problems, going after a solution that's meaningful to enough people. There's lots of companies out there that are like, well, we've got a real estate platform that can do X, Y, and Z for this type of customer. It's great, but are you looking for venture capital and the type of companies that are looking to scale are looking to solve a very generic problem, right? That has a lot of meaningful value. Are you adding on, as you already pointed out, we work with Teams and Zoom. We're an add-on. So we're using their infrastructure, their customers. So our customer base is every video conferencing user. We're not trying to replace them. I see people going, hey, we've got a better ad strategy than Google. We're going to replace Google. Well, usually the door gets shut in your face because very rarely does that actually happen, right? It takes an enormous amount of money. So being pragmatic, I think being international, I'll be honest, Canada's not necessarily the best place to raise early stage venture capital. I've rarely raised in local environments. My shareholders today are Taiwanese companies to U.S. funds, to our lead investor is an American VC as an example. High net worth individuals from all over the place. So we've got a very diversified strategy, very focused approach, and be a cockroach. Never give up or die. Right? We can, especially in Canada, you cannot die.
No, I agreed. So let's touch on that. We've sort of talked about this a little bit, and maybe we can brainstorm a little bit here. And I know you like to keep things sort of focused, but what would you think as a Canadian company, potentially looking for Canadian investors? Obviously, it's a smaller market, a tenth of the size of the U.S. and a fraction in the overall global economy. What would you say an approach as a Canadian company looking for Canadian investors? What would be maybe some tips or some ideas or thoughts on that you would give to others? And yeah.
What stage are that company at? Are you a startup? Are you a post revenue? Are you Series A? What's the stage?
Right. So let's say pre-seed, seed, kind of pre close to revenue, maybe small amount of revenue.
Got it. Yeah, I joke and I say Canadian venture capital is an oxymoron. I do because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who masquerade around that. Very little deal flow happens. So if you're pre-revenue, to me, it's high net worth individuals. It's people in your space who understand. As an example, I am going to go create a new product for a plumbing industry. Go find a CEO of a company that exited from the plumbing industry who understands the market and say, be an advisor, be on the board, give me a check for 100,000, get credibility going. That's always been my trick. My trick is go after your customers, your partners, your suppliers, and see who is your best fit for that type of scenario, right? I'm always going after that type of model. I'm not necessarily chasing after institutional. I think they're looking for different type of things. A lot of the early stage money that came in was friends and families, network, people who referred over. Even in our last round, it's interesting individuals, high net worth individuals. I can see this in my business. I would love to see like they immediately see the vision, right? So
Right.
that leap of faith is there. I'm willing to take a 50 grand shot on something like this. So that type of step.
And it's, and like you said, it's I don't want to say it's as much emotional, but there is that tie to it, that they understand it at a deeper level, right? Because they are a customer or a client or a user, somebody in that space that understands what's happening, right? And so
Right.
while it is a bit of a leap of faith, and yes, they're putting money in, and they're investing, and they do want to see obviously a return on investment, there's often more to it. Can you describe maybe that or that thought process, or where do you see that tying into this?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, if you can get them to overcome the objection of this market is really hard to go ahead and crack. Hey, I was in that business. I was in that industry. I know that if I, like, make sense to all my peers, that's where it makes a lot of sense.
And so let's talk about, where do you see, so obviously you've got Vizetto and Reactive coming out imminently, right? Maybe within days, weeks, let's say.
Exactly.
What can we expect, or those that are heavily anticipating the launch of Reactive, what can people expect from this iteration of Reactive?
Well, we spent 18 months talking to, I personally spoke to over 700 people last year. And the real feedback for me was, it's got to be easy, dead easy to be able to use. It's got to be, people don't have the patience from an onboarding point of view. And the UI has to be straightforward. It has to make sense. A lot of that type of stuff went into Reactive on this level. And we just poured over every detail. We argued back and forth on every aspect of the software. And finally, we're at a point where, it looks amazing. It is easy to use, and we're getting some great rave reviews from actual users, which I can't ask for more than that. So the intention is that you can get into Reactive within a few minutes. You will actually start understanding how to use the product. And if you have an important meeting coming up, download it a couple of days before. Play with it, understand, because it's a different concept. It's people spend so much time on their deck, right? Let's make sure this is the prettiest deck we've ever seen. But how about the delivery of that deck, right? Like, just because you have a pretty deck doesn't mean anything. You actually have to deliver it in a manner that somebody on the other side is going, wow, I trust this person. So that's what we're all about.
Right. It's the delivery, right? And that's why I sort of alluded to at the beginning, right? It's about the person, the founder. You're backing the horse in the race, right? Not so much.
Well, no. You're backing the jockey, not the horse.
The jockey, sorry, that's what I meant. I meant the jockey, not the horse. But I was thinking we were the horses, but we're actually the jockeys. Okay, let understand the I need to understand the analogy better. Okay, so transitioning from sort of Reactive and it coming out, shout out obviously to Mark Hunter, one of the people I think that's sort of been using your product. What are some of the things that someone like Mark has said? And I know he's mentioned Vizetto and Reactive on LinkedIn a few times. What are some of the feedback? And he's in the sales environment, right? Sales. What is it? He's sort of like a sales coach, I believe, right? So
yeah, he helps companies scale and grow their businesses and sell at full rack rate, and that's what it's all about. And so
and he's finding the value there, that it's able to enhance his presentation too.
Oh, absolutely! Like instantly, the day that we met, he was captivated by the software. He completely understood the value proposition. And we became fast friends. So it's been fantastic working with him. So there's a lot of feedback again. How to use it. What would I do? How would I use it? What's important for me? Because obviously we're asking him to advocate for the software. So he's out there talking to it all the time. So we can't wait to launch with it and get him involved in a more meaningful manner.
Cool. All right. Well, Ab, I really appreciate you joining me here. As always, obviously we talk a lot. If you're looking for Ab, you can find him on LinkedIn, obviously Vizetto.com. Soon the link to download the most recent or the latest version of Reactive will be up. So those watching potentially in the near future will be able to watch this and download it and start to utilize it. You're also raising capital on the Backers platform. So if people are so inclined, they can definitely check that out at backers.ca and go to the portal.backers.ca and check out Vizetto and their offering. And they can find you on social, right? On, I guess, LinkedIn. Do you guys use Twitter? Not so much Twitter. We're trying to get you in TikTok, right? We still haven't gotten you there, but who knows? It might be gone in tomorrow, right? It might be all banned and all for naught, right? Everyone built up all these audiences on TikTok, all for naught. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. I was just any last words?
No, not at all. That's all I have.
That's that. Well, I appreciate the time, Av. And for everyone else out there watching, Justin Fox, Av Utukuri, appreciate it. This is One Take. I will see you guys again very soon. Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by Backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
And the millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby.